Alright, we'll go ahead and do the final podcast of the 2010-2011 season, with the Sabres being eliminated in Game 7 by the Flyers. And I'm disappointed, obviously, especially with the Sabres heading into the playoffs on the role that they were on, and getting what I still think was the most favorable matchup between Philly, Washington, Boston, and Pittsburgh. Disappointed, but at the same time, Philadelphia is a good team. Any of the teams that we would have ended up playing are good teams, and I knew that regardless of who we played, we were in for a tough series that we had a high likelihood of losing. So, like I said, disappointed, but not shocked and disappointed, I guess. It's a bit of a small consolation. Goaltending aside, the Flyers are a good team. They have better depth offensively than the Sabres. They have better depth defensively than the Sabres. They have more experience than the Sabres. And they were less struck by the injury bug than the Sabres. That having been said, they probably should have been able to close out the Sabres in 5 or 6 games, maybe. I don't know. People wanna bash on the Sabres for having lack of heart, and I have a serious problem with that. I think they showed their heart in just getting into the playoffs after how they started. I think they showed it in taking a Philly team that was much better in a lot of areas to the brink of elimination. I don't often question players' heart. I think, with few exceptions, everybody wants it. So I'm satisfied with the effort. I mean, obviously I'd like more, but I'm satisfied with the way the season ended, especially heading into the off season with the new ownership and a lot of good things happening down in Buffalo. The series as a whole was exactly what I expected to be in a lot of areas, and that it was hard fought, that it was tough, that no team really looked head and shoulders better than the other at any point, and that it took a lot of goals and a lot of games to win it. A couple things I did not expect was the Flyers' goaltending and the Sabres' defense to play as badly as they did, respectively. I thought that the Flyers' play would be able to pick up their goaltending a lot more than it did. Pretty even. About what I expected. Probably, if you're going to talk strictly in terms of how the teams have been playing, not a 2 versus 7 matchup. Probably a 2 versus 3 or a 3 versus 4. Maybe a 2 versus 4. And I think that the winner of this series, regardless of who it was, is heading to the same place, and that is losing to the Washington Capitals, who I think are going to win the Stanley Cup. I know I said Vancouver heading into the playoffs, but the more I watch the playoffs, I think it's Washington's cup to lose. Maybe I'm wrong, but good for them. Instead of doing stars and black holes for this game, I will do stars and black holes for the entire series. The first star of the series is probably a guy that nobody thought would be a key contributor in this series, and that will be Marc-Andre Gragnani. He was nothing short of excellent. Especially considering that this was his first Stanley Cup playoffs, and he's a freaking rookie, and everybody says this guy's defense isn't good enough to cut it in the NHL. And as well as he played against the Flyers, a superbly offensively talented team, I think we can say that that's, at the very least, a bit hyperbole. Marc-Andre Gragnani, 1 goal, 6 assists for 7 points in 7 games, was even, had 9 shots on goal, which is pretty good for a defenseman, had 12 blocked shots, which, along with his assists and points totals, led the team. Went to the box a little more than you'd like, 8 penalty minutes, had 6 takeaways, which also led the team, and 5 giveaways to even that out. But overall, a great series by Marc-Andre Gragnani. I do believe that he led the team in ice time for the entire series. I'll check on that real quick, but I don't think ESPN's has updated their stats at all yet, considering that the game's been over for maybe an hour, if that. Actually, he's third to Tyler Myers and Chris Butler in ice time as of Game 6. I don't think that changed. I think that's right where he ended up. Great series by Marc-Andre Gragnani. I think if we can change out a few of our older or mistake-prone defensemen like Steve Montador and Chris Butler for a couple solid guys, Marc-Andre Gragnani will be a real good fit for the defense next year. My second star for the series is going to go to two players who I think did what they were supposed to do, did what they're expected to do. Those being Thomas Vanek and Tyler Ennis. Vanek led all forwards and was third on the team in points, leading the team in goals and with 5 points. And Tyler Ennis 2-2, getting 4 points, coming in tied for 4th with my third star, who we'll get to in a minute. As Lindy is prone to saying, you need your top 6 guys to show up, and Vanek and Ennis definitely did. I think Pominville also could merit some consideration as well. A very solid series from Pominville, unspectacular, but I think that might be kind of the player that we have in Pominville, is just solid and unspectacular. So I'm going to give Vanek and Ennis a slight nod over him. And moving right along, Vanek was a curious -7, which was worst on the team, so even strength, not so good, but I had a hard time looking through and counting goals that were Thomas Vanek's fault. I can think of maybe one early on in the series that was Vanek's fault. As I said, a lot of them were just Chris Butler being retarded, and it is what it is. Vanek also put 20 shots on goal, second on the team. No penalties, played a smart game, and chipped in with I think the kind of solid play you would hope to see from him. He's one of the guys that's paid to produce, and he did. Tyler Ennis, like I said, 2-2 for 4 points. Led the team in plus-minus, was a +4. Again, that doesn't really mean a whole lot over the course of 7 games. Tied for the team lead in takeaways was 6, and only had 1 giveaway on top of that. So a little shaky at times, Tyler Ennis, but a pretty solid series all in all for him. And my third star is another guy that nobody would have expected to give a star to, and that's going to be Rob Niedermayer. 1 goal, 3 assists, tying Tyler Ennis with 4 points. At times looked like the best player on the ice, probably was the best player in terms of puck possession and puck control down in the offensive zone. And man, what do you do with him? Maybe you can bring him back for another year, and maybe the Sabres have enough depth so that he doesn't have to play more than maybe 30, 40, 50 games in a season next year. And you have a pretty fresh and evidently quite talented Rob Niedermayer for the playoffs. I don't know about that one. You got to get there first, and I don't think he helps us get there, but man, did he help us when we were there. Rob Niedermayer, 3rd star for the playoffs. Did not see that coming. Didn't see it coming at all. And the bad part, the 3 black holes. And I don't know who I want to give the first black hole to, so I'm going to flip this quarter here, and heads, it's going to be the first guy on my list, and tails, it'll be the second guy on my list. And looks like tails here, South Carolina. Tails, so the first black hole of the series is Chris Butler. And I hate to do this, but I have to admit he does deserve it. Played a lot of minutes and played a lot of those minutes very well for the Sabres. At the same time, made a lot of very, very bad mistakes and took a lot of very, very dumb penalties. And that makes Chris Butler the first black hole for the series. He is young, but I don't know what you're going to get out of this guy. I did not like him. I haven't liked him for the past 2 years. Didn't like him enough in the playoffs. He doesn't, I think, bring you enough of an upside to make up for his downside. Maybe he's one of those guys that has a spot on the roster if we can bring in another defenseman that's more talented. I don't know, but he did not play well this series. The second black hole is going to be Brad Boyes, who is under contract next year. And just disappointing for Boyes. Maybe some of that is just not having a whole lot of playoff experience. 1 goal, no assists. Did do some good things, again, like Chris Butler, but I think not enough to make up for just the utter lack of offense that came from him. Yeah, just a disappointing effort for Brad Boyes. And the third black hole is Paul Gaustad, who I thought had a pretty underwhelming playoffs. Maybe that's a little unfair because he's not expected to do much, but no goals and 2 assists. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That sucks from a guy that is expected to have at least a little bit of an offensive upside, along with the fact that he was very, very bad on faceoffs early in the series. He did even that out, ended up at 54.9%. And you can say a lot of the same things about Tim Connolly, who was also no goals, 2 assists, and is supposed to have probably more of an offensive upside than Gaustad. I think we can tack that third black hole onto Connolly as well. As unfair as that may be because he did get hurt. Just 2 guys that should have at the very least been a little better, and in the case of Tim Connolly, probably should have been a lot better. Third black holes going to those guys. Yeah. So, there you have it, my top and bottom players of the series. Everyone else, I think, falls somewhere into the middle, and not really considering goaltending within this. Miller did play extremely well. Maybe he deserves a star. I don't know. That's probably my dislike of the goalie position more than anything. Why don't we give Miller that 3rd star along with Rob Niedermayer? I mean, the guy is just playing his ass off game in and game out, and unfortunately the team, particularly the defense, didn't support him enough. And then that's really why I hesitate giving him a star, because his play is dependent on other players on the ice. The defense can make him look terrible at times, and it can make him look very good at times. I think we saw both ends of that with him giving up 5 goals twice and 4 goals once, and with him getting 2 shutouts, both ends of it there. And more a reflection on defense than Ryan Miller. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Terry Pegula will do awesome things in the offseason of this, I have no doubt. Probably will do another podcast. Maybe I'll do some more during the playoffs. And unfortunately, I'm stuck with MSG and Versus, so I don't really get the greatest slate of games. I'll try and watch what I can on the computer, but with hockey, inline hockey season and softball season and umpiring coming up, I make no promises. See you July 1st, where hopefully we make somebody else feel as bad as we did in 2007. Have a good off season, folks.